so let's get started. I didn't explain how the game ends. Basically, when the last deck runs out, you make sure everybody has an equal number of turns. An equal number of turns in the fourth era, which doesn't have any cards. Okay, well, actually, no. An equal number of turns, and everybody gets at least one turn in the fourth era. This little card here is the first player marker. It never moves around, so I may use it for other purposes. Sometimes I use a lighter or dice to like mark where somebody is. Ooh, I still don't have that extra white piece. Well, we'll pick that up later. All right, so we're on the first player. He gets to pick a card from this initial set. Now, with all these initial leaders, I may want one of these. Gaining a civil action, losing a military is interesting. Increasing your population more cheaply is interesting. Oh, I can't grab this one. This one allows you to increase population, but then you get an extra bag of food out of it, which ameliorates some of the cost of increasing population. Paying one less stone might be worthwhile. I'm not really sure Moses is terribly valuable, largely because increasing your population early in the game doesn't often seem, well, I've only played it once, so how much can I say? Didn't seem that terribly valuable. So I'm going to split between this or Moses. I'm going to use a die to make my decision. I do that every now and then. All right, we're going to grab this one. Gives us because we're probably not going to have an urban building, and that's the expenditure of our one piece. Second guy, I get to pick something for 2. Interesting. The Library of Alexandria. Interesting. This gives an extra civil card and an extra military card in your hand and produces some good stuff. Let's keep looking at Homer. Each round you have an extra thing to build military units, and your military units produce victory points. I like the idea of a wonder that produces intelligent science, so that's what I'm going to actually go for. I think that's better than picking up one of those. And I'm going to put that over here where it's in progress. It's over to this guy. He has 3. Now 3 is interesting because I could get a 1 and a 2. Homer's a 2. I think Homer's interesting. Hammurabi's interesting. I'm going to go with Homer for 2. And then I have one more where I'll take a patriotism because that kind of goes with Homer. Gives me a cheaper unit that I know I'm going to buy. I think the stone is more valuable than some of the other options. Then we go to the final player who has 4. Alexander the Great. Military is better. 6 victory points. All right. That may be the best thing out there. I kind of like the leaders, though. Let's make a roll. Because that's a... So if I get the 6 victory points, I can get the population one. Yeah, let's do that. Let's grab this for 3 and the frugality for 1. Okay. And I need to get another white chip. So these are over in a bag for a number of reasons. But I can pour them out so that they're easier to access. One is I don't want people grabbing them too early or too easily. There is an easy, it would be very easy if they were within a simple reach to just, throw an extra yellow on the board or something. But there are times when those counters do get added to, and I do have to have them somewhat accessible. All right. So now we go to the later rounds. No, how about the second round here? And we've got to do production and maintenance. This should have been done on each person's turn as they did it. It's all the same for everyone, which is there's no happiness being produced. The farms produce. We have 2 farmers, so we get 2 of these. We own no food. We have 2 stone, so we get 2 of these. We own no corruption. Everybody's the same in strength. So I'm just going to slide these markers, and hopefully I haven't forgotten something down here. Okay. That's the first round. I think that's it. Okay. The second round, well, the first thing that happens is this card would go away. If we were playing with less players, more cards would go away. The deck gets kind of run through pretty quickly in the 2-player game. That's kind of neat because it simulates maybe the effects of, you know, the other players would be taking stuff anyway, probably. So, anyway, here nothing went away. It's only if that lead card is left in place that it ages away. And because it's the first player, we flip these out. Now we got to be careful. And this card is not going to get used. The first player doesn't get, he's the only person who gets A's drawn. Might have been possible that he used up all the cards. Anyway. Over to really the main flow of the game. There's no war, there's no political action at this point, no military cards in play. So he gets to do his actions. I have this rich land, I can move something for 1 less. Let's see what we want to do. Are there any cards I really want? Alexander Hammurabi gives me an extra civil. That could be interesting. I could take the Colossus for 2. That gives me constant victory points and strength. That's pretty nice. I liked the Hanging Gardens with its happiness. This one gives you an extra civil action. What about other leaders? Every time you take a technology card, you score a light bulb. You add to your strength. I'm not sure I terribly want either of these leaders. Alexander is a pretty good leader, though, with his military advantage. So what I'm going to do is I am going to spend 1 to pick up Alexander. I want to up my production. So I'm going to spend 1 to trigger this card. I couldn't play it if I had just gotten the card. That allows me to build a new mine or farm for 1 less. Mines cost 1. Normally they cost 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one of these down here. And I move my extra person up here. And now I have more production. This card is discarded. Now I'm just going to toss it over here for now until I get further. I have 2 more actions. Now, I may want to grab the Colossus, because if I don't get it, someone else might. It's going to start getting pretty cheap. Alternatively, I might want to play Alexander the Great. I'm going to grab the Colossus. I don't actually start building it yet this turn. I have some military actions. What do I want to do with these? Anything? Well, I can't really do anything because I don't have excess people. So I won't. I'll hold on. And I have these 2 red cards, so I get 2 of these. I'm allowed to hold 2. One of them, and these come down here. If I had played with that option, I would have these, and I could then play a tactics right away. If I hadn't, I would have had to spend both of these to get them. Here what I've got is one tactics, which is going to increase my combat ability for that if I can get 2 military units, and then a defense card, which will help me defend against others. I'm allowed to hold 4 of these, and I only have 1 in hand. I'll push these back up, and we move to, I don't push these back up. I did things kind of in the wrong order. I score points. Now, maybe I was supposed to score points at the beginning. Yeah, I was supposed to score culture and science. So everybody should be up to 1 in science, and nobody got any culture. They got their science off the philosophy. So now, I check my happiness. My happiness is fine. I check my science. I'm the purple player. I go up in science. I don't have any culture anywhere. My farms produce 2 more food. I have to feed. I don't have any feeding that I have to do. I have my mines. That's 3 more production. No corruption yet. And I draw my military cards, which I did. So now we go to the next player. This card is discarded. Nobody took it. These move forward. And now we're in era 1. Now, I don't know if he should have had an era A military card available instead. I don't think so. So here's our first building choice. And there's a military and another thing here. So I could buy this and then put it into play with enough science, innovation, whatever, to get you know, this new thing that produces military and happiness. But I'm interested in the Library of Alexandria in particular. Do I want a leader though? Aristotle. Every time I take technology card, I get an extra science. Add to my military. I don't know. We'll see what I'm left with when I'm done with what I want to do for a turn. So what I want to do for a turn, well, I don't have a lot of rocks right now, unfortunately. Okay. So, let me think. I'm having a hard time coming up with what I want to do here. If I could get significant building on the library, I would take it. But I think what I really want to do is I want to get my stone built. Now, I could do that with this rich land card, but there are problems with that, which is that I can't play it this turn if I have it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1. I'm going to grab Moses. I'm going to spend another 1. I'm going to play Moses. Now I can increase my population more cheaply. I'm going to pay 2 stone to move a dude up here. That costs me a 3rd action. I have a 4th action. I think I'm going to take that to grab a rich land. I couldn't play it this turn anyway. That means I'm not increasing my population, but that's okay. And I think I'm done. So now I go over here, science. I gain my 1 science. No culture. Farms, 2 food. I'm not eating. Rocks, I produce 3. I don't have to pay corruption yet. And I get my military cards. I get 2 military cards, which I cannot play. And I also have a tactic. Mine is a more complex tactic. It's got a weapon. I need a soldier, but I also need a cav. And then this is new deposits. Now this is a colony. If I put this in the future events, eventually it'll come up and people will get a chance to bid on this, almost as if it's a war. The only difference is you must commit a soldier in order to succeed in it. And you can also play cards equal to this colonization. You basically bid for it like you would with an aggression. And it comes up and is played immediately. So that looks like the end for him. We're over to him. Card doesn't go away. Two new ones. I have a leader. I can't buy another leader. So Hammurabi is going away. Okay. So it looks to me like we're becoming kind of militarized here. Do we want something? I like the hanging gardens. I'd like to start on them. I'm going to spend 1, grab a wonder. I like wonders, I'm sorry. And that gets me started on that. I'm going to spend 1 to play Homer, because he's going to be producing some culture for me. And I can immediately mark the green up to indicate I'm producing 2 culture a turn now. I could play this if I want. I don't know if it's worth playing a cultural to get a military action, or a civic action to get a military action. We'll see. I'd like to start building this. I have the production to start working on it right away. On the other hand, those stones are really useful, getting a continual build of them. So I'm going to actually do the same as everyone else, and I'm paying a civil action to build another bronze mine. I have 1 more action left. Is there a 1-point card I really want? I don't think that's worthwhile. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to spend 2 food to move a person here. Now I do my production. I get my point of knowledge, and I get my farms. And my rocks. Still don't have to feed people. I forgot I spent this when I moved the person up. And now I have 2 of these. Let's see if we have anything interesting here. Okay, we have 2 events in our hand here. A strategic territory, which will give you, I don't know, 2 military, it looks like. I don't know what these 3 cards here are for. That may mean that you get to draw 3 more cards immediately. And then in uncertain borders, whoever's weakest gives you a yellow token from his bank to the strongest civilization's yellow bank. That's an interesting card to play. One of the problems we're going to have in this game is I'm going to have a hard time remembering who played which events in here. When you're playing it not solo, that's fairly easy to do. But when you're playing solo, it's hard to remember what you've dumped in. In general, you want your strength up for some of these, but you know, you may not be sure that it makes sense for you to play a certain card. Okay, over here, Hammurabi. Time passes. I'm always drawing for the wrong one. Okay, there's a library. It's going to produce culture and knowledge. And here's a temple, which is going to be an upgrade for the religious option, which produces even more happiness. No more culture, though. Okay. Well, you know, like I said, I like these things. I'll buy one. Do I have a leader in hand? I do not. Do I want one? I could add one to my strength and gain a military action. Every time I take a technology card, I get an extra knowledge. I see no level 1 leaders out yet, which may mean a level A leader is worth having. If you don't play them fairly soon and use them, they're not terribly valuable though, so I'm going to kind of hold off on that and see what else I want to do. Again, I have the pyramids. Now I need 3 rocks for this to work, so it's a very easy choice for me to allocate someone here. That means next turn I'll have 3 rocks, I'll be able to play 1, and then I can do 2 more to finish the wonder off. I've got to play this before deck 2 comes out, otherwise I lose it. And the same is true for this. Seems like an idea to play this card since I have a limited hand of cards. I'll play it. I increase my population for full price and my civilization produces a bag of stuff. Okay, full price is 2, but then I get a food back and I get this guy here. I've still got one more action to take. With urban buildings out, things like the printing press out there, maybe I want that. Maybe I want Aristotle, maybe I want Caesar. I'll buy Aristotle. And now we're back up around. Now we're on another round, and over here this guy has, well, if he had a ward, I did the card draw already. If he had a ward in place, he would take advantage of it here, but he's got a political action. Now he's got the choice of playing this fighting band during this stage. He can't play it yet. This is not really a problem. He can hold on to his cards, but I like to check the cards there. Now this one I probably should put over with my A card because I will not remember it otherwise. While I'm there. Okay, he doesn't have excess military cards, so now he's got his choice. Well, playing Alexander seems like a good idea, but it may not be necessary yet. Now I paid for him already, but I'd like to start buying towards the Colossus, I think. Is there anything else I want? I could get this, and that'll buy me my Stage of the Wonder cheaper next time. So that sounds like a good idea. So I'll pay 1 of these and 3 of these. And that moves a marker here. Now I'll pay 1 of these. Do I want this? I don't have a lot of technology yet. But I think it's a good deal. Maybe not a great deal. I'll play Alexander in case things start showing up from the event deck that are military. Now that's going to give me an additional point of strength for each military unit. I only have 1. Now I have 1 more point. I could buy a higher tech soldier, or I could buy the bread and circuses building, or I could generate more people. I'm producing a lot of stuff, so I think it's a good time for me to make another people. Okay. I still have actions. I have military actions here, where I could play this tactics. It doesn't add anything for me yet, but it would get the card out of my hand so I'd draw another card later. So I'm going to play a fighting band. It doesn't add to me at all, and that leaves me one of these. Now I produce a technology, nothing else. This isn't working yet. I produce 2 more food, which I don't have to eat, and 3 more of these, and this is kind of important. Why I had to eat that food was so that I don't get corruption here. And then I get a military card. And this is an event card, which would give a bonus to the strongest civilizations. I probably want to play that, get my victory point off of it. I can't do it yet, but next time around, because I count on being a fairly militaristic society as things appear here. Well, it gets rid of this card. Stupid quail. This blue thing is kind of cool. It's a one, it's a permanent effect that if you just play some technology for, you don't have to put people towards it and you get an extra civil action. Those are kind of nice. All right, over here. Well, I definitely don't need Caesar. Each player's mines produce extra money. Well, this is a cool event no matter what. So coming down here, I'm going to play this in the future events section. I immediately get a victory point, and it triggers an event. Development of warfare. Each player with an unused worker may immediately hire a warrior unit for free. That's a pretty good deal. It doesn't help him, but this guy gets one. He might as well, It's an expense you don't have to pay, and it actually helps him here. He should have a point from last turn because he had a warrior. I have him marked there as producing culture, but I forgot to cash it in. Okay, by putting that there, his strength goes up to 2. Why does purple have a 2 strength? Because he has Alexander. Okay. And his culture per turn goes up to 2 because of Homer. Now I've got to be careful when Homer comes around. It's going to be when Homer disappears, he loses some of his productive capabilities. Again, this guy probably wants to do it. That puts him up. And I don't think he has any other bonuses from it over here. Hey, yeah, we'll put this up. That gets us a point of strength. Make it 2 points of strength for Alexander. And then I've got a fighting band filled out. I've got 2 of those regular infantry there. So I get another point for the army. If I had an air force to support the army, it would produce yet another point. Okay. But that's over on this guy. Development of warfare goes here. And we can't do anything with this card. We don't have to discard it. We may want to spend a military chip to play that. We may not. Now, we'd like to get started on our library if we can, but we may have other needs. Build a new minor forum for 1 less. that could be useful too. Moses increases population more cheaply. That's not necessarily an advantage. One of the uses of population is that it eats food to move people out of it. But we may worry about that later. Is there anything we really want here? Do we want the bread and circuses? Do we want... We have all the... You know, unfortunately, everybody's tied up in their wonders, so none of these are available, and they're going to fall off the map pretty quickly. This one with 3 culture per turn, that's pretty nice. Well, I want to build up my library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1 to bump this into place. What is this? Build a new minor farm for less. I'm going to spend 2 more. And now I'm halfway done. Next turn I get enough production to finish it off. And I'll spend 2 food to move another person. It gets that there. And now I've got the choice. Do I want to, you know, put that person on a minor farm immediately? Well, I don't have the production to do that, so the answer is no. The medieval army, I'm not terribly interested in building that. I don't have enough actions to pick up these knights here. Happiness could be an important thing, so really my question is, do I want the swordsman or do I want bread and circuses? I'm going to spend 1. I'm going to grab bread and circuses. That leaves me with 2 of these. I could deploy the military card. I think it's probably worth doing. End of turn, I produce my... I have no culture. I produce a point of science. And I produce some food. And some rocks. And anything else here? I get 1 military card. Did I take a card for him? Yes, I did. Okay. Wealthy territory. This is going to give me 5 rocks to begin with, and then it also gives me 2 extra white per turn. Now, that's not me. That's whoever wins the colonization of the event. Just as a clarification there. I'll take a little break. I have to swap batteries and do some of the mechanical stuff here. Problems within the rules and elsewhere, the iconography for this game is not well described. So this 3 cards, I don't know what it is, but I think it's 3 military cards you draw immediately when you get this. You also get 2 strength if you manage to win this event. Alternatively, this one, the weakest civilization, gives up force to the population to the strongest civilization from his bank. I don't know if I'm gonna be the strongest civilization. Currently, I'm not. I've got reasons for strength, but I don't see myself easily beating that. However, that doesn't seem like a bad idea, but I'm gonna put this one in for a point and pump that over there. And that triggers another event. Remember, I only get to play 1 of these. Development of science. Each civilization gets 2 science. Okay. When these run out, this deck will replace it. And I'd have to discard if I had excess. I can build units more cheaply, but that doesn't sound terribly appealing to me. What do I want to do? I want to get my hanging gardens started so I can build them completely next turn. So I'm going to spend 1 of these and 2 of these, and get that there. Now, what else? I can have an extra military action and build units more cheaply. I could up my strength with the swordsman. I'll buy that. I will spend a red. Oh, I don't have enough. I don't have enough science to necessarily do that, because I probably want one of these other things, like the printing press. So let's buy the printing press as well. Now we're only allowed 4 of these cards total. I don't want to spend my rock because of that. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to spend my white technology to drop some food and put another person here. Now I've got a consumption. That's not a big deal because I'll be producing food, but it's just something to keep in mind. Now for my production, see, I get to build military units cheaply, but only building, not upgrading. That's a factor there, so I don't really want to deal with that. So first thing I do is I get my 1 point of science, because I did not play my card yet. And then I also get 2 points of victory points. And now we go on, farms produce, Now I've got to eat. I've got a consumption of 1. Yay, that's actually a good thing, because it keeps... it's very easy to have too much food production. It's also easy to have too little, but food production is something you can have too much of. It's hard to have too much stone production. Even if you get corruption, you're probably just paying stones that you're producing. I don't have any corruption, and now I have 2 cards coming to me for this turn. And I get a phalanx, which is complicated. I have to have cav for that to work. Nothing goes away here. What we'd like to see is the iron production. Additional food production, well, the only real advantage to that is I can get some of my people out of agriculture. But unlike after the Holocaust, where it's absolutely vital to get your population outside of agriculture, you produce plenty of food in this game. And after the Holocaust, basically each person produces enough food for that person to live. So until you fix that issue, you have real problems. I do not have any military cards for some reason. I don't know why that is. I have Aristotle. Every time I take a technology card, I score a victory point. Well, I ought to consider, if I'm going to be taking technology cards, that's an issue. Maybe I forgot to draw cards for him. I have the work of art. Before this deck runs down, I've got to play that. Not a vital thing at this moment, necessarily. I don't think I did my production at all, because I have no stones left. I think I must have missed his production in the last turn. What was the other thing missing? The cards. Let's give him some cards too, because I think I just failed to use him. Let's give him, I don't think he did a military action, did he? Well, somebody built a second, no, he got a free second unit, so let's give him these cards. Okay, maybe I forgot to do his turn. I don't know. There's no way for me to fix that easily. Okay, so the first thing he has is his cards. Barbarians. If the civilization with the most culture points is one of the 2 weakest, it loses a population. Well, I am not one of the most civilized civilization, or more, yeah, so I'm going to play this and get myself 1. That kind of puts me in danger there, and that triggers another event. Development of markets. Each civilization produces 2 rock or 2 food. And I have to choose this for each civilization, starting with the guy who's currently going. Well, there's no question we want rocks, not food. I think that's pretty much an across-the-board desire. I'm not even going to think about it. Okay. So what does he want to do? He'd like to build the pyramids. Spend 1 for 3 rocks. That builds me 1. Is there a card I want here? Do I really want theology? Theology's not bad. It ups the happiness that religion could give me, but I don't think it's terribly important to me. Printing press for 2 might be worthwhile. But I think I'd rather... Oh, I'm not going to have enough. I don't have enough rocks to build this, so I'd rather not build it completely. So I'm going to play 1 for Aristotle. I am going to take something. Well, it's going to cost me 2 to take... Either I can take Knights in Theology, which I don't really terribly want to do, or I can take a level 2 one. This is not a technology, it's a new government form. Now, it would cost me 9 science to do this without paying a penalty. If I do a revolution, I lose my entire turn of civic actions, which doesn't seem terribly valuable. If I do a peaceful change of government, it only costs me 1 civil action, but I'm not going to have 9 science available. So I don't really feel like getting additional civil actions is that valuable if I have to throw them all away. There is a slight advantage to it. So then the question is, well, do I want culture and science from the printing press, or do I want just science from the alchemy? And I think I want just science. Well, getting additional culture is nice, but knowing that event that I threw in there, I'm going to go with just science. So I'm going to spend 2 of these. I've just bought alchemy. Well, I took a technological card, so I get a point of tech. This doesn't increase my tech production, it just increases my, running total. Now I have 2 red cards coming to me. Okay. So first thing I do is my production, I'm happy enough. I gotta remember, I get no culture, but I do get a point of science. This is orange. And what else? I get food, which I don't really need, and I've got problems. I get stones, which I do really need, but now I owe corruption, so I owe 2 of those stones back. So my production really sucked, and I'm going to be able to finish the pyramids, but you can see where it gets kind of ugly. And I draw 2 of these suckers. And it doesn't matter that I'm over my limit at this point, because I get a chance to play one of those cards, though not the tactics, before. So I can play this if I want. Historic territory. It's a nice colonization card. It gives you a happiness, and it gives you a lot of culture all at once, which could be useful. And that could be an interesting sap in terms of the one I just played in here. So it kind of balances that out, because the person with the most culture has some definite problems there. Okay, so I guess we're back around to the top of the order, and we'll take a little break. Here we are back with the purple player. Trying to get his Colossus built. He should be able to do it. I see no reason not to play this, as I am the strongest power. And probably will remain so. I'm giving myself my first point of culture. That triggers an event, though. These are all going to happen. Development of settlement. Each civilization increases its population for free. Okay, what does that mean? I think that means that one of these moves forward, not that the yellow pool increases. Again, in some cases the wording is not that terribly clear, but your population is the people that you have actually working in general. Although sometimes your population pool increases, and you got to be careful just to take a moment to think. Okay, so that was my card. I've got one left. I'm okay. My wonder is going to be cheaper to build. Okay, so I have some interesting cases here. For one thing, I can buy another wonder once I complete this. One which gives me culture but also science. And that sounds pretty damn good to me. So I'm going to complete this one by spending one of these. It means it's going to cost 2 less, so all I have to do is pay 1. I get my rock back that I had. This goes over here. This is now discarded. And this is going to increase my per turn culture allotment to 1, and my per turn science allotment up to 2 per turn, which is kind of sweet. Now to buy this next one, I have to pay 2. I think it's still worthwhile because I like what it does. So I'm going to pay 2 whites to grab this and start constructing it. Is there something else that I want to do? Not really. I think I'll continue constructing it. So I'll pay another one to move 3 of these. Now I'm going to have some corruption problems, there's no question. And I start the building on this one. And now I get my production. First things first is my points. I am purple. I get 2 victory points. And I get 2 science points now. Alright. Didn't have anything I could do here. I could have built another warrior. Let me think if I wanted to do that, because it might save me corruption to do so. Because I'm going to be producing 2 more food and 3 more of these. Yeah, I think I'm going to end up paying corruption either way. So I'll leave that alone. So now I go to my farm production, and unfortunately, there go 2. Oh no, I wouldn't have paid. Oh well. It's too late now. There go 3 of these. I have to pay 1 in corruption. And I think that's it. I get 2 red cards. I have different types of strategy cards. Now, I can only have one of these out at a time. And right now, the fighting band, obviously, I don't need a second version. I don't need to replace that with another one. The phalanx is better. If I end up getting a cav, that would give me a stronger military overall. But as long as I'm not going to have a cav, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we move forward, and all the A's are done. They're gone from the pile, which means we're reaching a point where things are kind of, we kind of have to worry about how many cards we run through. All right, over here. Gray. Well, I want to play this because it's worth a point. It's not that terrible. I may get some of them, I may not, but getting some value out of those is worthwhile. These are my cards in hand. I would like to complete the Library of Alexandria. So I spend 2, and then I spend 1, and I complete that. And that's going to get me an additional point, my first point of this per turn, and an additional point of science a turn. Ah, wrong kind of science. So that's up to a deuce. Okay. Now what do I want to do? I can build mines or farms more cheaply. I could start building an arena. That's appealing too. I don't have the money, I don't have enough rocks to put an arena into play. I could put the technology into play, but not the arena itself. Are there any cards that I terribly want? I'm not going to be able to pay for the technology for this. So I will put a new mine or farm into play. Make it a mine. I have 2 more whites. Shit. I've been forgetting about happiness. Okay, well, he's at the unhappiness 1, so he's got a worker there. He's at unhappiness 1, so he's got a worker there. He's at unhappiness 1, he's got a worker. Unhappiness 1, he's got a worker there. We're not actually blown up yet. But I do have to worry about happiness. So how am I going to get some happiness? Well, one way would be to move a worker into religion. Another way would be to move a worker onto the bread and circuses, which I think is better in the long run. So I'm going to spend this to play an arena. I have to spend 3 technology for that. This is pale gray. 1, 2, 3. I can't move this worker. He's unhappy. So I'm going to have to bring a new worker into play. Because of Moses, I can do that for 2 food and an action. Oops. And now I have 2 military left. Well, hold on. First, I worry about my happiness. I'm sad. Yeah, I forget the first space happens so quickly. Then I have to... I have to score my points. So, do I have any of this? Yeah, I get a point of culture. And I get 2 points of science. I think this is on 5, I can't tell. There's no way of recalculating it. I check my food. I eat my food. I get my people, or my rocks. I am not corrupt. And I should be in a position to move this laborer into the arena where he'll give me military and a couple of happiness. And that'll fix my problem. Now I get my 2 military cards, which are both events, which are cool because they give me victory points. Okay. This. The slide down system, I feel like there's got to be some little mechanical device somebody can make to just, you know, roll things on a little treadmill or something in a game. I shouldn't look at that. Yeah, that's dangerous. Drama gives you culture and happiness. Useful stuff. Okay. So I've got an unhappiness problem as well here, but I can fix it with the hanging gardens. So that's going to be one of my goals. But first, I have to deal with this. Uncertain borders, the weakest civilization. Is that me? It might be. If I'm not careful, it might be. But I'm going to play this. Oh, geez. I got 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think somebody forgot to take an event last time. Right? Because I got 4 here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So an event should have been played that didn't get. Development of trade routes. Each civilization stores 1 light bulb, scores a light bulb, and produces a rock and a grain. That would have been available for him. And that's going to screw up, you know, his end of turn situation. So I don't know. Everybody gets a light bulb. That's easy. A rock and a grain. Here's a rock. Here's a grain. Not a big deal for him. For him, it is a big deal because that rock would have been a consumption. I'm not going to charge him against it just because he probably would have done different things if he had known that he had that. Okay, so now we're back to this guy, and this guy's going to play the uncertain borders for a green point. It's one of the problems with playing solo, honestly. This flips over. Development of religion. Each player with an unused worker may immediately build an Age A temple for free. Well, I've got a dude. Hey, what the heck? So that increases me 1 culture and 1 happiness. And now I get an unused worker back. Over here, he doesn't have a dude, so he can't actually do it. I can't count on this free dude to manage it. Same problem here. He does have a dude, he'll do it. So he gets a culture and a happiness, and that replenishes his dude. These get reshuffled. I'll turn them like this. And now we've got a new set of 6 cards coming in. Okay, so that was his card play. He can still hold 2 cards, so he's okay. Oh, well, we have to build the hanging gardens. There's no question there. Although we don't need it as badly as we thought we did earlier. I don't have anything that affects that, do I? Patriotism, swordsman, printing press. Okay. So this has been completed. That gets me 2 more happiness, so I can have a much larger population. It gives me another point in this, so I'm producing 4 per turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So, printing press is nice, but I can't build this yet unless I have something else. What are my military capabilities? Phalanx takes cav. Well, I'm going to buy a cav because I have that phalanx in my hand. Actually, playing the cav will cost me another white card because it's a technology, unfortunately. Do I want a theology? Theology gets me more happiness for my religious dude. I got plenty of happiness for now, right? So, I don't know how much I really need it. I can only hold 4 of these anyway, so I'm going to have to play one. I'm going to play the printing press because my military's not bad. In the long run, I may want to get it up higher. He gives me extra culture. And that's going to cost me 3 of my science. 1, 2, 3. That used up all my white cards. I could create another military dude. That might be worthwhile. You know what? I'm not building the printing press. Instead, I'm building the knights, which cost me an extra point. It was an extra point of science. Because I've got this bonus here. Ah, shit, this cost me 1 though. That's the problem. But okay. I'm going to play Homer. I'm going to play his special ability, which means that I can convert this guy into an army for less. Because I know this new deck is coming out. And I know there's military stuff in there because I put it in. So this is going to increase my military strength by 2. I'm getting up there. It also increases my... No, he only produces for the first 2. But I'm also going to play a phalanx for the other card. And that increases my military by 3 because I have 2 infantry and a cav. So I'm now the strongest military, which is going to have some significant benefits to it. To production, my happiness is high enough. I get my points, which looks like 4 of these, and only 1 science. That's the problem. It's always, you know, there's this rough balancing act to this whole thing. And I like that. I mean, it's got luck in it. It's got this balancing act. It's a lot that you can play on instinct. You don't have to really burn your brain to play this thing. And I find that more appealing in a cube pusher than the really, the ones that don't have a lot of luck in them. All right. So now we produce our food. You do have to kind of worry though. Because, oh look, I have a corruption problem. That means I have to spend 2 of these. So I actually didn't produce enough this turn. Nope, I don't have a production problem. This was my production, but I had a food I had to eat that I didn't count. So I actually produced fully. That's cool. And now I get... I had no red chits left, so I get no red cards. I gotta shuffle this deck before I go to him. And let me move this here to remind me who's playing. Person for this round has the choice to play this historic territory. It's got a happiness, a bunch of value to it. I'm gonna play it for my point because I'm falling way behind. Now, there's an interesting situation here. The iron has come out, and iron is really cool because they produce 2 rocks per build. There's a bunch of them in the deck. It's strange that none have come out yet. But being the first person to see it, it's going to cost me a lot if I want it. Whereas maybe, you know, one of these other technologies makes more sense for me. For example, I have alchemy. Okay, so I want to build my pyramids. There's no question of that. I gotta be careful because I have the victory point card. So I put 2 rocks down, and I put 1 rock down, and that gets me the pyramids, which adds a white chip to my hand. Now this is really cool because normally you can only get additional actions off of a government card. Speaking of which, there's one. Now governments I don't think are technologies. Now, which means I wouldn't get my Aristotle bonus from buying that. But I would get it off of other things. I want to up my science, and I think I want to buy some cards. So in order to up my science, it's going to cost me 4 science to play. I'm not going to have 6 rocks, so maybe I don't need to play that yet. Military. Medieval army says I want knights. Well, I don't really need them yet, so I'll hold off on that. Although I may want to play it before I have to discard cards. Okay. So I'm going to buy a code of laws. That gets me an additional point of science. Do I want to put this into play? It's a cheap way to get yet another white chip. Sounds like a deal to me. So I'll play a white chip and 6 science. And that gets me another white chip. So now I have got the pyramids and the code of laws, and I've gotten free actions off of those. And that's kind of cool. Of course, that makes changing government even harder. Is there something else I want? Pay a technology for full price, then score 2 science. It's not a bad card in any sense of the way. Just don't know if it's worth paying 2 for. When, instead, I probably need to get more population out there. So it's going to cost me 3 to produce the next person. This doesn't require happiness yet. I have a happiness deficit. I don't have any rocks though, and that's my problem. I'm unhappy because of my lack of rocks. So we'll pay this. Do I have 4 signs? See, I got other things I need too. I'm going to pay this to play the work of art. And that gets me 6 score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. To production. I still have my happiness deficit. It's paid off. I get my food. I eat my food. I get my rocks. I don't have to eat any rocks. I still have 2 red cards coming to me. And did I screw up again? I did. Son of a bitch, I keep forgetting. You know, I score the point and I say I want this. The 2 strongest civilizations each produce 3 rocks and a grain. Okay, let's see. We were not one of the strongest here. The 2 strongest would have been green and purple. Why purple? When purple was ahead, tied with gray, because purple is next in line to go. So that's what, you know, the tiebreaker is for these. So green gets 3 rocks and a grain, and this is a bonus, kind of no matter what. But again, this could have screwed me up if I did things. 3 rocks and a grain. You know, if I had my order wrong, as I apparently, you know, if this guy had gotten affected by it, it would screw up my turn and I'd have to try to rewind it. The same situation has happened with him, and I just don't have the mind to do that at this point. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the past events out and put them back in the box. Well, let's start for another round here with the first player. He's got too many red cards. Unfortunately for him, he can't play them all. Now, in fact, he can't play any of them. What he can do, though, is discard this one because he's already got it produced, so it doesn't really hurt him. Alrighty. I can't buy this government and install it, and it doesn't add that much to my situation right now, so I'm holding off on it. Now, the later governments, at least in the two-player game where the cards are kind of restricted, tended to you felt like you had to buy one in the later stages of the game. Not just to get the advantages, but because you might not get another option. And you can see there's a long period where there aren't going to be any. So getting one now, granted it adds one of each. If I had buildings that I was really using, I would probably be more interested in it. But right now, I don't have those. I'm interested in building this up, I guess. I need happiness, though. Okay, well, let's see what happens. So, I spend 3 production on another level of this. I spend another 3 production, and we get the university. That gives us another yellow. That gives us 2 more science production. So we've actually got a kind of nice science production here. I'd like to get some happiness. Bread and circuses would cost me 2. Phalanx here, I'd need a horse. That would cost me 2. I'm looking for something that I could get for 1 that I'd want. I don't know that there is, but I can tell you one thing. I want more people. So I'm going to spend, mainly I want less commodities. I'm going to spend 3 to move someone here. And that takes 1 of these. That means I only have 1 left. That 1 left I could put into religion, but I don't have enough stones for that. So I probably want to buy a card. This is never terribly bad, getting some extra science when you buy a new technology. And that may be the best thing for me. Alternatively, I could grab one of these and increase my science and maybe culture. I think I'm going to pick up that card, the breakthrough card. And now we look and our happiness is satisfied. We're unhappy, but that's okay. If we didn't have any people for this, terrible things happen. I don't remember what those terrible things are, but you don't want them to happen. Oh, you do not produce. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. My farms produce. And I definitely have a production problem here. I produce 3 of these goods, but 2 of them I have to give back. No, wait. I gotta eat my food first. I eat 1 food. Now I produce 3 of these things, and 2 of them I gotta give back. And that kind of sucks. But I forgot to score my points. This is not easy. It's a game that works a lot better when you're not soloing. And if I was soloing, it would work better if I wasn't on camera. You know, it's just a pain in the ass to do these kind of cube pushers on camera solo. I want to play it solo, and I want to give you a feel for it, but it just they don't work out as well as they do. And it's a lot of fun playing it opposed, but I don't have the same problems with forgetting, you know, where I am. And now I draw 2 more of these. I got another phalanx, which I can get rid of. I got the first aggression card that I've seen. So this I would play against somebody in this stage. It would cost me a military. And this is an aggression. It says it here. So there would be a bid for whether or not I get to succeed. And if I succeed, I can destroy one of their buildings, and I get rocks made out of that building. How valuable is that? Well, that's kind of the question. Is it worth playing those damn things? In a 2-player game, you're playing a zero-sum game, you know, where whatever I take from you is helping me. In a 4-player game, if I'm doing something to you, I had better be sure I'm going to win. The only exception to that is if win that little exchange. The only exception to that is if there's someone who's a clear leader, and that's when you want to gang up on someone. Well, that's why we're not playing with the no gang up rule, because there would be times when you want to do it. Now, if somebody falls way behind in military, they're just going to be a target, and you've got to make sure that you're not so far behind that you're a target to begin with. You know, so if you're stuck here with 1 soldier and a strength of 1, somebody may well aggress on you, because the most you can do is up that to 2 by sacrificing your soldier, and they may have that beat naturally. You know, if you're up at the top here, boom, you can just whack on those poor people. So you got to be careful not to let yourself fall too far behind in the military side of things. All right. More irrigation. Some bonus rocks. I got 2 events. Pestilence. That doesn't seem bad at all. What about the territory? Well, I don't feel terribly good on my military, so I'm going to play this. Pale gray goes up by 1. And if I remember... All right, there we go. It's colonization time. Everybody starting with him gets to bid on colonization. Now, you have to sacrifice a guy to get it. Do I want 3 military cards and 2 extra strength? 2 extra strength would be useful. Is it worth sacrificing my dude for? Maybe. So the bidding actually happens open and in order. And I believe it is, let me see. Yeah, until somebody passes. Now with aggressions, it's a single bid. But with these colonizations, it's a bidding sequence until, you know, the price is reached. I think this is worth bidding for. So since I have a strength of 1, I'm going to bid 2, which is the minimum that I have to bid. I have to sacrifice a soldier to get it anyway. That puts it over to him. My current strength for green is quite high. Do I want this? Yeah, maybe. So I can bid 1 more than my current strength, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll bid 8 for this strategic territory because it's going to give me a handful of military cards plus it increases my strength. So 8 is the current bid. That puts it over to orange, who can't possibly reach that. He's got a strength of 2. He could bid 2 more to 4. That's it. And then over to gray, who also is at 5. He could go 6, 7 for the cost of these guys. So he can't take it either. So this guy's going to sacrifice one of his warriors. Now that reduces his strength by 1 for the warrior. And then 3 for the phalanx. But he gets this, which gives him 2 additional strength. and he gets 3 of these cards, which may or may not work, because now he's got a big handful of cards he's got to cope with, but it may give him some opportunities. I think we're on this guy's turn. So he played his red card. Now he gets to choose what to do. And I have enough happiness for now. I should have 2 happiness, 3 happiness. No, I didn't build any of these guys. Okay. Somebody has the Hanging Gardens, though. They should have a decent amount of happiness. They should be at 3, yeah. Okay. So now, what do I want to do? I want to improve my military. I need cav for that. I spend 1 to grab myself a knight's card. It's going to cost me 4 technology to get that knight's card into play. I don't have a lot of people. I don't terribly need to fill this bread and circuses. My technology is fairly high still, so I could buy other things. Alchemy might not be a bad buy. I'm going to buy an alchemy card. Do I want to spend on either of these? I do. I'm worried about the military situation, so I'm going to spend on the knight's card. And then I'm going to spend 3 soldiers. Oh, I forgot to. I owe 4 of this. I spend 3 metal to upgrade my person over to the knight's card. That adds 2. 4 because I match the medieval army to my strength. And now I'm up with everybody else in strength. I don't have a lot of technology. I probably need to move some people out because I've got too much of my resources. I'm liable to go corrupt. So I moved this. It's going to cost me 3 food to move a person into the unemployment line. And now I'm out of everything except reds. I don't really have any reds I want to play. So we'll go to the end of the line. I've got enough happiness. Farms producing. More food. Oh, this is sad. I didn't time my corruption properly. So I spend 2 of my 4 production on corruption. And now I get 1 red card. It's the Legion, which I probably don't want to build because it only produces the same amount of stuff as the medieval army, and the medieval army I've already satisfied. So that's probably a useless card to me. I forgot to take my points. See, this is not here in the order, is the collect your score. You know? So what did I have? I have, I'm the gray player. I get 2 victory points. And I get only 1, oh Jesus, no, 2 science. Okay. And that puts us over here. Let's make sure I have the right number of these. I have 4 here, 2 here. The one that's not in here is a territory that fell. That's why a count doesn't really help. So we go over to him. And the printing press goes away. And clearly, look, you know, if you catch me making mistakes, not only mechanical mistakes, but strategic mistakes even more, planning mistakes, man, It happens when you play solo. Okay, there's another government, a monarchy. I think that's not what we had before. No, that is what we had before. All right. So now I have a whole horde of these. Note that I could have used these in my bid, but I still had to sacrifice a unit no matter what. I've got rats. This is not bad. I'm only allowed to hold 2 cards total. So the question then becomes, do I want to make this aggression? Destroy a rival's urban building. Your civilization produces stone equal to half that building's cost. Now, as far as I know, I can't destroy one of these starting buildings. Oh, it's destroy a building. That's just one of these. I can't destroy the technology itself. So, I mean, I could get a stone or something off of this. It's going to cost me a red. I'm looking at the different urban buildings. They're all 3-point costs. I don't think I really want this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play rats to begin with. That gets me my victory point. It pushes events out, which I think are good for me. Barbarians. If the civilization with the most culture is one of the 2 weakest, it loses a population. Okay. Who has the most culture? Green does. Am I one of the 2 weakest? No. I'm the first among these because I went first, so nothing happens. That worked okay. Now I've got to discard. I'm going to discard the raid because, like I said, it's not worth the stone, whereas these things I can use towards colonization or if I'm attacked. So they're kind of cool that way. Now this is what my hand is available. And I really need to get more military out there because I'm not meeting my phalanx requirements. This is the one reason I kind of didn't want to play an event is I'm at my weakest right now. But the problem is the card that I discarded was even worse in that direction. I might have wanted to just bury an event instead, but instead of playing it. So I need to do some things. What's my technology? My technology's high enough I could put the swordsman out. But I don't know that that's my best goal. What I definitely want to do is I definitely want to spend 3 food and get a new unemployed person. That's one action. Then, I believe I want to play this. See, the swordsman's just not that valuable. Hold on. But I may want to do it anyway, so... Because I can jump someone up to swordsman right away. Alright, we'll do it. I'm going to put a swordsman technology out. That's going to cost me 3 of these. Now, unlike some games, you can't just ignore your military here and expect your engine to work well. So that's that. Now I'm going to spend a red and 3 rocks to upgrade this guy to a swordsman. That gets me 2 more strength points. And then I've fulfilled this again, so I'm up to 3 strength points in that. Now I'm very strong. I had an extra an extra stone for building, so I've got an extra stone here. I would like to build something, but the problem is there isn't much for me to build. I need to create more people to fill in spaces somewhere, or I need to upgrade a technology to fill in things. Well, I need to use up these stones. That's one of the problems. So I may use my other red. Jeez, I'm just not using up many stones. So what can I possibly use stones for? Because the problem is I don't have enough people to shift up here, and I've got all these damn stones in play. I don't have enough food to shift another person into my unemployed pool. I don't have any technology, so I can't start building the printing press. I don't know what to do. I'm going to spend 2 of these and grab one of the irons. I think I want to get my production improved, my technology improved more quickly. That leaves me one of these. I'm going to spend him because I've got a handful of cards as it stands. And I'm going to spend 1 stone. I already took my bonus there to move this up. And that gets me another point of strength. Not terribly important, but whatever. All right, let's make sure my points are correct. Culture, I'm getting 1, 2, 3. I've got marked 4. 4. All right. And then science, I'm getting 1. And that's what I have marked. So I take a science, and I take 4 culture. Wow. And I take my food. I eat my food. I take my stones. I eat my stones. I get no red cards, and we move forward. And we got to swap battery out again. Possibly more interesting government choice than monarchy shows up, which is theocracy, because that gives you culture and it gives you happiness. There's a lot of reasons you might want this. I've got a happiness deficit right now, for example. All right, so my first thing is I have to cope with all these cards. Now, clearly I can discard one of these medieval armies. Do I have a desire to enslave? This makes a rival, decreases population, and your civilization produces some rocks. This would cost me both my military actions. Do I have a desire for this? Well, I'm too weak. I'm too weak to be able to play this. So I'm throwing this card away too. Someday I may want the medieval army. So I'm keeping one of those. And now I have to worry about my strength in comparison to other people's, because people could start aggressing on me. But I have lots and lots of actions, which is cool. Okay. So, for one of those actions, I have alchemy. Okay. That's a lab. That's kind of neat too. For one of those actions, I am going to spend to grab irrigation. And that increases and gives me a technology. Now I have enough technology to build my alchemy. Bread and circuses gives me happiness. That might be more important to me. Let's buy that too. I have lots of actions. That gives me a technology. I am orange. I'm going to build bread and circuses. That's going to cost me 3 of my technology. And I haven't actually built it. What I've done is I've invented it. Okay. Now I'm going to use 4 stones to move this person over here to this building. That gives me a point of strength, and it gives me 2 happiness, which frees up another person. Okay. I don't have the technology to do more. However, I do have an extra person here. And unfortunately, I have food that I ought to be eating. Well, I'm going to spend an action to grab this work of art. Hey, that's too valuable to leave out there. That's a lot of victory points. And these are the ones that particularly it might be important where they show up. And then, I'm not playing anything else there. I have a person. I don't have any stones. I can't buy any cav. I just spent one of these. I'm going to spend 3 food to create more people because I have enough happiness, right? So I shove another person into there. Now, I could build some military, but I don't have stones for it. So I think I'm done. I get my points. Is my culture right? I am getting 0 culture. That's great. My science, I'm getting only the 1 science that I start with from my philosopher. Not so good. Aristotle's helping me, but you know, I need to boost this up. My farms produce. I eat. I only eat 1 still. My rocks produce. I don't have to eat rocks. And now I get red cards, and I get 2 of them. And that puts me back over here. And oh boy, we used up a lot of time on this video overall, so I better load this one up.